Students, a very good morning to all of you. Students, as you know, we are doing the summary, or rather, we should say, chapter wise summary of the novel Oliver Twist in our paper 2. Till now, we have completed almost 20 chapters. Today, we will do the summary of further chapters. Students, now Mrs. Corney, who is the matron of the workhouse where Oliver was born, is just about to sit down for a cup of tea when Mr. Bumble appears. Mr. Bumble explains the concept of out of door relief, which is to give the poor people exactly what they don't want so that they won't come back. Mr. Bumble gives Mr. Corney the port wine ordered from the infirmary and then stays for a cup of tea. Mr. Bumble flirts with her and then finally she threatens to scream, but right then there is a knock on the door. It is an old woman who tells Mrs. Corney that old Sally is dying and insists on telling Mrs. Corney something before she goes. When Mr. Corney and the messenger arrive in old Sally's room, she is sleeping. While they wait, the messenger gossips with the other nurse. Mrs. Corney gets impatient, but just as she decides to leave, old Sally wakes up and grabs her arm. Sally tells her that years ago, she helped give birth to a boy in the room they are in, and the mother died, and as soon as she died, Sally stole a gold necklace from her. She tells the matron that boy's name was Oliver, and she is about to tell her the mother's name when she dies. Now, students, Artful Dodger, Charlie Bates, and Tom Shetling play a game of whist while Fagin stares into the fire. The doorbell rings, and the Dodger goes to see who it is. When he comes back, he whispers to Fagin, who tells Bates and Shetling to hide. The Dodger then leads Toby Cricket in. Cricket insists on eating before he tells them anything, so Fagin waits impatiently. When Cricket is finally ready to get down to business, he asks Fagin how Sykes is, and then they realize that none of them have seen him. Cricket explains what happened and that he and Sykes tried to escape with Oliver, but eventually just left him in a ditch and split up in their attempts to evade capture. Upon hearing this news, Fagin rushes from the house and heads to the Three Cripple, the pub where Sykes usually goes. Sykes isn't there, however, and the man he questions hasn't heard any news of him or of Barney. Fagin next goes to Sykes' residence where he finds Nancy alone. He tells her Crickett's news and she says that Oliver is better off dead than around all of them. Fagin loses control and to Nancy threatens Sykes if he has lost him Oliver, who could have been worth a lot of money. He regrets his explosion, but he thinks Nancy is too drunk to notice. He leaves and returns home where Monks is waiting for him. He lets him in and they discuss Crickett's news. Monk thinks he sees the shadow of a woman listening to them, but they don't find anyone. Now he leaves. Mr. Bumble, while waiting for Mrs. Corney, inventories her goods, going so far as to rifle through her drawers. Mrs. Corney returns very flustered at having been so put out by a pauper, so Mr. Bumble gives her a glass of wine. Mr. Bumble proposes to Mrs. Corney, who accepts. Mr. Bumble goes to the undertaker's to tell him of old Sally's death. No one answers the door. As he goes around back and peeks into the window where he sees a drunk Noah, Claypole asks Charlotte to come close, upon which Mr. Bumble bursts into the room. Noah tries to blame it on Charlotte. A very offended Mr. Bumble leaves his message for Mr. Sowerberry and leaves. In running from the house, Sykes yells to Cricket, who has gotten ahead, to come back and help him with Oliver. Cricket obeys the order for fear that Sykes would shoot at him. Their pursuer come close, though Cricket runs off again, preferring to risk Sykes' anger to capture. Sykes drops Oliver and jumps over a hedge. The three pursuers are not enthusiastic about catching him, so decides to give up reluctantly, admitting that they are all afraid. The pursuers are Mr. Giles, the butler and steward, Mr. Brittle, a lad of all work, and a travelling tinker who, sleeping in an outhouse nearby, had been roused to join in the chase. Oliver remains where Sykes left him as day breaks. He regains consciousness and manages to get up, but it is a semi hallucinatory state as he stumbles forward. He comes to the very house that they had tried to rob, and too weak to go anywhere else, knocks at the door and collapses on the porch. Inside, Mr. Guile is telling the story of the robbery to the other staff, where they hear the knock. Nervous, they all go together to answer the door. Mr. Giles drags Oliver inside and, recognizing him, runs to tell the lady of the house that he has caught one of the thieves. The lady's niece, in consultation with her aunt, tells them to put Oliver in Mr. Giles' bed and go for the doctor and the constable. Mrs. Miley, Miss Rose, and Mr. Giles wait for the doctor to arrive. Mr. Lobson, the doctor, bursts in and is quite disturbed by the fact of the attempted robbery. After a rather long wait, the doctor comes out and asks if the ladies have yet to see the boy. They answer that they have not, and the doctor says that he thinks that they should. Students, in this section, we see that it opens with Dickens building suspense as much as possibly he can. The last section closed with Oliver shot and losing consciousness, being dragged off by Sykes, but Oliver then moves to Mrs. Corney and Mr. Bumble and their awkward and economically driven flirtation, saying nothing about what has happened to the novel's protagonist. This is followed by a meta commentary on this use of suspense, for when Dickens takes us back to the thieves, it is only to see Fagin fail to find anything out and be slowly tortured by Crickett's over-the-top building of suspense. Students, in Mr. Bumble and Mr. Corney's flirtation, Dickens is at his satirical best. Although this is the best romantic scene in the novel, as helpless Mr. Bumble becomes attracted to Mrs. Corney in his accounting for his silver and fine clothes, we see the least idealistic portrayal of human relations possible. Both figures are presented to the reader as comic and certainly not attractive, and their bumbling dance of courtship reflects this their total lack of romance. This is partially due to both lovers' lack of character. Both are completely put out and offended when any of the paupers entrusted to their care asks for help. Both feel no guilt in using the money and resources provided for the paupers for themselves. This also reflects, however, a general distance of the middle class who, if they cannot feel sympathy for those below them, cannot be imagined to be capable of love. Courage and cowardice and the different definitions of the two are important themes in this section of the novel. In the previous section, Oliver was so afraid to participate in the robbery that he physically collapsed, but he is not meant to be seen as coward. He is instead one of the bravest characters we see, planning to risk his life to warn the members of the Miles house of their impending robbery. He has courage when morality is at stake, and this is the great distinction between him and less impressive characters. Bill Sykes and Toby Cricket are both ostensibly somewhat courageous. They make their living in a significantly dangerous line of work, but Dickens focuses much more on their flight from the house than on their bravery in their attempt to rob it, and so we see that their Purely selfishly driven courage is nothing of the sort and is in fact another form of cowardice. Students, here our today's class comes to an end. We will continue with the summary in our next class.